morning, we are tracking breaking news out of the Middle East, an attack on Iran's consulate building in Syria. Iran's ambassador was not hurt, but he told reporters in Damascus at least 5 people were killed and blamed Israeli warplanes for the strike. Now, CNN cannot independently verify those claims. Our Nick Robertson, though, is here and is following all the breaking news story on this. And Nick, this is a significant target. What more are you learning about this attack?
Well, the ambassador says he was an eyewitness to it because the embassy is right next to the consular building. The consular building destroyed. He says at least 5 people were killed. One of them, according to Iranian state media, was Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zahedi, who is a very, very senior IRGC top military commander. He's commanded the IRGC Army ground forces before, their air forces before, and it is believed at this time that he is the most senior IRGC figure to be killed since the Quds Force commander Qasem Soleimani was killed by the United States in a drone strike early 2020. Take that with the fact that this was a diplomatic building that was hit. That hasn't happened before. Now, the ambassador, Syrian media, Iranian media are blaming Israel, typically in these situations, because there have been situations like this before where Israel has been blamed and has actually accepted responsibility for some strikes against Iranian targets inside of Syria. Typically, the Israeli government at the moment is saying that we don't comment on what foreign media are saying, the Iranians and the Syrian media. So this is a sort of a statement that we can expect Israel to give, but the indications are that this would be a target of high value to Israel. And the ambassador said that it was, as you mentioned, Israeli fighter jet F-35 that fired those 6 missiles.
I mean, broaden this out then. If it is Israel, and we don't know at this stage, if it is Israel, the implications here for a region that already is, on the edge, what will this mean? How will Iran, how will Iran react to this?
To set the scene from Israel's side for a moment, they've been talking about the northern border, their northern border, the southern border of Lebanon, as being a place that needs a diplomatic solution in their tensions with Hezbollah that's a proxy of Iran. And they've been saying that window of opportunity has been closing. And they've been saying that the window of opportunity is going to be closing soon. And the discussion has been about mid-April. So Israel at the moment is really on the front foot in terms of wanting to have powerful strikes against Hezbollah. If they are responsible for this strike on such a significant Iranian target, and the ambassador said that there would be a decisive response, the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman, according to Iranian media, is saying that they have a right to take a response. The Iranian foreign minister is saying the international community should do something. This potentially stokes up the tensions between Iran and Israel. And in that context, Israel would anticipate that that response could very likely come from Hezbollah. And if it did, then that would give Israel a rationale to strike Hezbollah harder. And this is what the United States fears. This is what European Union officials fear. This is why Secretary of State Antony Blinken is meeting tomorrow with the French president in Paris. And they will discuss this issue of Lebanon, Israel, Syria, Iran. It's in this context. The tensions on it are very, very high right now.
Yeah, the risk of escalation here clearly very high. And this is something, like you said, that Secretary Blinken has been going to the region. I don't know how, trip number 5, 6, I can't remember, trying to keep a lid on this. So we're looking, I mean, what is the US saying at this juncture then?
I haven't heard what they've said so far. And it's not clear. If Israel was to take responsibility for it, then I think we could expect to hear something publicly from the United States. If you go back to just after Christmas, there was a senior IRGC figure, not anywhere near as senior as this one, an advisor to Syrian forces, who was killed by a strike in and around Damascus just after Christmas. Again, Israel at that time said they weren't responsible. But later on, Israeli officials admitted that they were responsible for that strike. The United States is trying its best to de-escalate those tensions. It wants the ceasefire in Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel's got 100,000 people who can't go home along the northern border because it's too dangerous because of the escalation in tensions. And there is some in the military and political establishment in Israel who believe that this is a necessary time to take out Hezbollah's military capability. So it's coming. Is this a spark to set off the tinderbox? Everything we've seen so far, Israel has calculated, and I was just looking at an interview I did with the former head of Israeli military intelligence a few months ago, and he said, so far, everything Israel has done has been within a red line, not to cause Iran to escalate, because Iran knows it has a lot at stake at the moment. Is this another calculation by Israel, taking it right to the wire? Yeah. We don't know. And what is Iran's response?
How will it retaliate?
It was a very big response when Qasem Soleimani was killed.
Let's start with a conversation about the breaking news we led the hour with, the apparent strike on the Iranian consulate building in Damascus, Syria. The Iranian ambassador pointing the finger at Israel. Israel says it doesn't comment on foreign media reports. What do you make of the attack and the likelihood that this was potentially the IDF?
Well, it seems that's the highest likelihood that it was the IDF, not a certainty. It's a fascinating and in some ways risky move. You're going to now bet about how the Iranians will respond. The Israelis, until now, have taken the position that they will go after Iranian commanders or anyone else who they believe are masterminds behind the attacks on Israelis from Lebanon and all that. But the problem is here that they are still deeply engaged in Gaza, and the whole effort has been to keep this war from spreading to the north. And this may well give the Iranians an excuse to do that. Until now, as you've heard from Natasha Bertrand, we've seen something of a calming down, and this could undo all of that and inflame the situation pretty quickly.
David, put that into context for us in the prism of where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is right now, because he is at a point of vulnerability as we've watched these protests escalate over recent days, and especially into the weekend, as we saw with Melissa Bell, with tents being set up outside the Israeli parliament. What is the significance of the timing here?
Well, there are two possibilities that come immediately to mind. One is that the timing was merely a military moment of opportunity, where they knew where these commanders were and they had an open shot at them, and one where they thought they might be able to minimize civilian casualties, although right now we don't know what those casualties may have been. The other is that Prime Minister Netanyahu sees the risk of an expanded war as politically beneficial potentially to him, that his entire reason for staying in office has been to defend Israel in the wake of the October 7 attacks. And of course, the American concern is that he has done this in the hardest possible way, in a way that has cost at least 30,000 lives so far. And those protests that you saw marked sort of the end of that period of grace that Netanyahu had, where the Israelis sort of took the view that even if he was not their preferred leader, he was their wartime leader. And you're now seeing that fracture. He may see some benefit in the war revving up.